Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for More Survivalists. Finally here, my survival knife. AITOR FERFAL. This is the serialized 001. So yes, these are gonna be numbered AF AITOR FERFAL 0001 knife. And man, is it a beauty. I'm super happy with it because of everything, because of how the process, this was my idea of that ideal Goldilocks survival knife, not too big, not too small, you know, the tiny 3-4 inch bushcrafty blade, that's all nice and cool, but you know, I also want to have a 10-inch blade, and you can never go with, you know, something that is absolutely perfect in every sense. This is the way I see of getting that big enough to do all the chopping, batoning, and everything that I need, and tough enough to use as a shovel or as a pry bar if I have to, yet sharp, capable as a cutting tool as well. A lot to talk about here. Let's go with some of the things that I've been asked. A lot of people have asked about the sheath. Well, you cannot get much of a better sheath than this. This is injected ABS plastic. This is tough as nails. This is not your little Kydex sheet, guys. That's what you usually see, and that's easy to manufacture, that's easy to make. It's not as tough as this. You know, injected molded plastic like this, reinforced, this stuff is a beast. And this is the kind of thing you get when you're talking about knives on this kind of line. You know, like the M9 bayonet. It's a solid chunk of plastic. Same thing here, just a little bit more streamlined because, you know, it's tough enough already, but that's what you're getting here. You're also getting a sheath that fits perfectly. There's no wiggle, there's no rattling here, and it locks into place with this very cool system that AITOR has been using for a very long time. So this is borrowed. You know, this is the nice thing of working with a company that has been doing this for a very long time. There's no improvisation, there's no guessing, it's just stuff that works. You just push that little thing there and you get your knife out silently, securely. You know, very, very cool. This is the sheath they use with a number of other knives, by the way. And I'll leave the links below because I know you guys have always been asking about that. Yes, it is already available. The link is going to be there if you want to get the knife. Besides that, you have this little pouch, and you have some cordage, which is, you know, not a huge amount, but it's, again, a survival knife. So that's to get you out of those tough spots. A sharpening stone as well. And then you have the pouch. This pouch can be adjusted so as to use it for Molly. You would have to remove the little survival kit, which we're going to be getting there in a second. It comes here in a tube, but you would have to leave that somewhere else and adapt this so as to use it with the Molly attachment. I think the best way to go is just using it as a belt knife, guys. I think that's more reasonable, but we want to add as much functionality as possible. Besides that, you get a second mini knife, like a Skinner knife with a hook, gutting hook or a seatbelt cutter, a cap lifter, you know, so as to open bottles, and this wrench adapter so as to have something to work with a few nuts or something if you ever need it. At least you have something there to give it a go. Mostly this is going to be like a spare tiny, you know, secondary blade besides your main one. How cool is that in a survival situation to have those two? Now the blade itself, this is the design I've always had in mind. My idea of a perfect survival knife was going to be something like this, like an in-between point, kind of, it's just under 7-inch blade, which is usually what you see in most fighting utility knives. Your K-bars, your Glocks are going to be somewhat about this length of a knife, because it's just that Goldilocks point where it's long enough for a bunch of chores, fighting, whatever else you need, but it's not your 10-inch blade, which I prefer it. I prefer the 10-inch blade, or just give me a huge machete if I'm going to be using it for that. But then again, how much can you carry that around all day long? How convenient is that? This length is about what you know, we've all kind of agree is that ideal in between point. So you have 17 centimeters worth of blade, but at the same time, because of the recurved edge, you have 18 centimeters worth of edge because it's not in a straight line. So when you're cutting, you're going to be going through 18 centimeters instead of 17, which would be the case with a straight line in the edge there. Of course, full tank construction, bomb-proof, tough as nails, micarta, and actually a cool looking, red liner there, which I think does nicely. A bit of the metal exposed there, so as to hammer with it without compromising and messing up your handle, which is very comfortable, by the way. And I don't like these handles that have these, you have this position here, you have this position here. I don't go with that. I just want something that's comfortable and my hand is going to be staying there in place. Whatever it is I have to do, whatever it is I have to stab or chop or destroy, whatever is needed, I just want to have a position that gives me a good hold. And this gives you more than enough real estate for whatever hand size that you have. About the blade itself, the steel, this is not your classic carbon steel, even though it has more carbon than most of your typical carbon steel blades, which you've been told 1,000 times it's ideal for survival. Well, N690, it has about 1.1% of carbon, which is more than most of the carbon steels you see around. It's somewhat about the same range in terms of carbon as your 1095. But this being a very solid stainless, which is not going to be rusting on you. Of course, anything can rust. N690 is very unlikely to rust on you. And this is important for a number of reasons, guys. It's always cheaper to buy the cheapest yes, let's just call it as it is. It's always cheaper to buy the cheapest carbon steel that you can get and just paint it a little bit with epoxy paint, and that's it. Now, that has a couple disadvantages. First, that epoxy textured finish, it gets dirty. This is a survival knife. You're going to be using it for preparing food, for cutting. If you've ever been food poisoned, you know how important it is to keep this clean. That's why your knives that you use every day in your kitchen, those are mostly stainless steel, not carbon steel, which is going to be rusting on you. Not only that, not only is it more difficult to keep clean, it's also more of a thing of it's not going to be sliding across material. It's going to be having more traction. That's never good. I always like to have as minimal friction as possible. It just cuts better. In terms of the steel itself, boiler N690, this is an Austrian steel, higher end steel, which is used in many European knives, of course made in Spain, so it makes sense that as well. But this is selected for a few reasons. Not only is it stainless, which you have cheap stainless steels as well, but the difference is that this holds an edge very, very well. This is the same steel used by some high-end knives. We're talking about your Extrema Ratio, you're talking about some custom knife makers, which $400, $500 knife using the same steel because it just works well. It just holds an edge very, very well, longer than most of the lower end steels. And not only that, it's also very easy to sharpen as well. Okay, that's something else to keep in mind, because you may have a very good steel, some premium steel that has a very high Rockwell hardness being achieved, but it's a pain in the ass or even impossible for you to sharpen on the field. Not in this case. With a blade geometry that's going to be giving it all the strength it could possibly need. So let's just watch for a couple seconds a short version of the longer cut of testing this knife for you to get an idea of what this thing is capable of. And basically that's what you're getting, guys. That's it. That's the thing. It's a combination of getting a great steel, which is a Boiler 9 N690 with the right heat treatment, with the right blade geometry, tough, sharp, easy to sharpen again. The recurve blade just gives you several things. It's just going to be a pleasure to cut around with for chopping. It's just, I think it's ideal. I think this is the way to go. Feather sticking like so, just that. Now, in terms of what you get in this little capsule, well, that's basically what you have here. Just a little bit of a survival kit, really. So you're going to be getting, it's this a scalpel blade. You have a couple of tweezers, couple of needles, a couple of these hook needles, and some thread, a fire steel, which is cool to have, especially in a survival knife. You should have a fire steel as well, and yes, you can use it with either one of these. It's going to be striking this fire steel, couple of band-aids, just small stuff. And this is good to have as well, a small fishing kit, just a couple lines there with a couple of small hooks, bigger ones, and some sinkers. That's it. Just a tiny little kit, which is just nice to have. It's the same kit that comes with the Jungle King too, by the way. So yeah, folks, that's it. I think it's a great deal. You have the link there below if you want to go check it out. But I couldn't be happier with it, and if you end up getting it, I hope you're happy with it as well. Folks, that's all for now. See you in our next video. Have an awesome day. Take care.